Yo, what's good with y'all, man? Welcome back to another video. Don't mind my voice. I might be sounding a little bit nasally today because my allergies are low-key kind of kicking my ass right now. I'm not gonna lie. And today's video is an absolute banger. I'm actually gonna be going over how to make samples in the style of like Coop The Truth or Nami, like that dark R&B type of feel. So if you guys want to learn how to make those types of samples, you're on the greatest video on the YouTube right now. And before we get into this breakdown, please let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see from me, like what kind of breakdowns or just like any types of videos. Just let me know it in the comments below. And every time I put out like an R&B, dark R&B kind of sample video, they kind of do pretty well. So I'm assuming you guys like to see these. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's hop right into the breakdown. So we're starting to sample off at 100 BPM. First, I'm adding these chords in. This is what it sounds like. And for the effects, this is like my basic chain that I always go with. And this is a vintage verb, a Volv compressor, retro color, EQ, and then a shaper box. And this is just to add some like pulsing, that tremolo kind of feel. And like I said, this is like my basic preset. And I have this saved. So anytime I want to make like these types of sounds, I just load in this preset, honestly. And I just tweak around some stuff. The sound itself is from Mullen Made It Spiritualism Creator Kit. So for the chord progression, just an E major 7th, and then it goes into this G minor chord. And as you can see, a lot of these notes aren't even in the scale, but that kind of just adds to the feel. And my recommendation to make some chord progressions that actually sound like this is to use major 7th, minor 7th chords, and also going from major to minor chords. Also to experiment with going out of scale really adds to that like dark, eerie type of vibe, like vintage vibe. And also don't be afraid to span over notes across octaves either. As you can see in this one, I put this A sharp up an octave. And then for the rest of the pattern, I just kind of added these like notes to transition. And then I added this E major chord up an octave at the end. And then I rendered it out and I chopped it up to sound like this. As you can see, there's a lot of silence here. And that's the biggest thing, in my opinion, with these types of samples. Silence is one of your best instruments in this case. And I'm really just adding the silence just to add that bounce. And then for this section to transition to the second chord, I'm just rendering it out, pitching it up an octave, and then reversing it. And then I'm adding a Volv compressor just to kind of make it more vintage. Pretty simple, but stuff like that just adds a lot of texture and more character to your samples. Next, I added another synth key from that Mullen Made It kit. And I'm just following the chord progression here, just going from the E major to the G minor. And the reason why this is a G minor chord is just everything's voiced differently. So here is just the G minor chord. And I just kind of pitch these around and pitch this up an octave. And that makes it the G minor chord, just kind of re-voiced differently. And the pattern sounds like this. And for the effects, I'm adding a sound shifter to pitch it down, a Valhalla vintage verb, Valhalla delay on the ping pong style, and then just a fruity chorus on the fat clean preset. Then I rendered it out and chopped it up again, and this is what it sounds like. And all I'm doing right here is just reversing this section of the sample. Then to fill in the gaps from the first section, I just added those little reverse sweeps in. Next thing I added was these vocals, and this is what it sounds like. And if you guys listen to any Nami and Coop The Truth samples, they add a ton of vocal phrases in there. And I'm going to play these raw with no effects on just to see how bad these sound and then what you can make them into. As you can see, it sounds absolutely terrible. And my recording process is pretty simple. All I'm doing is slowing down the sample by like 20 to 10 BPM. So for example, it's at 100, I'll slow it down to about 80 BPM and then record the vocals in. And when I'm done recording all the vocals, I'll raise the BPM back to 100. And it kind of like adds these like warping artifacts to it and makes the sample sound a little bit more like sampled, if that makes sense. And for the effects, I'm adding this auto tune, an EQ, an altar boy. This is definitely the real sauce right here if you want to make some vocal samples that sound like this. A compressor, a flangus, retro color, a reverb, another EQ, a chorus, and then another EQ. So So yeah, vocal samples are really big in these types of samples. And honestly, in my opinion, you should just record them in if you're able to, because you can really get what you want. But also like kits that have vocals, phrases, and samples and stuff also work very good for this. The next thing is just this Rickenbacker bass from Contact, and it's just following the root notes. Next thing I added was this perk loop from Leewy's Nemo kit. And this is what the perk loop sounds like. Then the last couple things I added in this first section were these textures from the Nemo kit, and also just this tape hiss, which you probably can't even hear, to be honest, but I just wanted to add it to make it more like vintage sounding. That's pretty much it for the first section. Super simple, but adds lots of space and more atmosphere and just like vintage types of vibes. So this is what it sounds like. So for the second section, I just wanted to chop it up and make it a little bit different, make it more unique. And what I did was just take out the chord progression and then those vocals. And then I added in the synth key from the Mullen Made It kit, and it sounds like this. This is just following the same exact chord progression here. And for the effects, you have this chorus, RC20, this vinyl stripped on the Bright Master preset, and then a vintage verb. Then I added this guitar in, this from Ample Guitar L. And then for the effects, there's an EQ, RC20, a Decimort, a Valhalla space modulator, and then this Shaper Box preset, which I'm not exactly sure what preset this is, but you can copy the settings right here. And this is just playing the same exact chords, except I'm just arpeggiating these middle notes. I'm keeping the same bass in, except I'm chopping out those like passing notes. And then the main thing for this section is this phrase from Leewy's Nemo kit. And it sounds like this normally. What I did was add a flangus on top and then an EQ cutting out the lows. Now this is what the phrase sounds like. So that's pretty much it for the second section. Pretty simple stuff. I just kind of dropped out some sounds, added some new stuff in there. And for the master effects, I just have this EQ and a soft clipper. And then I'm adding on sound shift to pitch it up an octave, and then another one to pitch it down an octave. This kind of goes with the whole vintage type of vibe, kind of adds these like cool little artifacts in there that I liked. I thought I fit the whole like vintage type of vibe. And then I add a pitch shifter again to pitch it up by 3 semitones. And then this gain plugin by Kilohertz is completely free, and it's just boosting it by 7 dB because I thought the sample was kind of just quiet. And then the soothe just to take out like some harsh frequencies that I didn't like. And yeah, with all those effects on, this is what the sample sounds like. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys can take some away with this. Hope you guys learned something for sure. And if you guys want to stay up to date with me, go check out my Instagram at Prod by YEOOO. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one.